On Monday, the 22nd of March, you guys will be able to factor trinomials when A equals 1, section 7.4. Raquel, did you find that movie you're looking for?
When the game stands playing.
Oh, I think I've heard the name, and that's about it. But now we know. All right. So when A is equal to 1, we talked about how we have A, B, and C for these trinomials, okay? It was ax squared, bx plus c. So A was whatever is with the x squared. It should be our leading coefficient, the first coefficient we see when it's in our standard form, okay? So last section we learned how to do it when A did not equal 1. So we made the x, we multiplied the top and the bottom, we split up the middle term into 2, and then we factored by grouping, right? Okay? We can still do all of that when A equals 1. So if we notice here in this first example before the numbers kick in, it's x squared plus 6x plus 8 at the top of your note page. A is 1. The number in front of x squared is an invisible 1 there. So if we were to make our x here like normal, we'd have A times C at the top, which would be 1 times 8 or 8. And we'd have B at the bottom, which is 6. Yeah, please write this down. And so we'd be looking for two positive numbers in this case. We know it's positive because they have to multiply to a positive and they add to a positive. Okay, bless you must rain down after those forget. Bless you must rain down after those forget. Emily, what two numbers are you thinking? 4 and 2. Now, truthfully, does it matter if we do 4 and 2 or 2 and 4? No, it really doesn't, okay? All that would change is your parentheses would be in a different order than somebody who did the other version, which is perfectly okay. So then we would split this up and we'd say, okay, the first term stays the same, the last term stays the same, and that plus 6x splits into plus 4x plus 2x, okay? Then from there, we said, okay, well now we'll group the first two, we'll group the last two. We've done this before, right? Okay, this isn't new to us, hopefully. Okay, and we said, hey, the first parenthesis has in common x, and we're going to be left with x plus 4. Second parenthesis has what in common? 2. And we have an x plus 4. Hey, what do we notice about those x plus 4 and the x plus 4? They're the same, right? So what do we do with that? Pull out in front, right? And then what do we do with the other parenthesis? The x plus 2, right? What's left in the outside the parentheses there. Now, that was the same thing we did before, right? Okay, so we notice here, because A is 1, as we go back through and multiply through, they're both, in parentheses, they're both just an x and an x, right? It's like x plus something and x plus something else. It's not like a 2x, it's not a 3x. Whereas if it was like a 3x squared to start, we'd have to have like a 3x down here. Now, what do we notice about this 4 and this 2? Have we seen that 4 and 2 somewhere before in this problem? Right here on the side of this x. Okay, so we ended up seeing those there and there. Is that a coincidence or is that a pattern? Well, let's see. Let's try another problem here. And let's see if we notice anything. So we're going to make an x again. And what's going to go at the top of this x? -6. Very good. What's going to go at the bottom? 5. So we're going to need two factors of -6 that add up to 5. Now, if it's multiplying to a negative, what do we know about the numbers? It's going to be a negative and a positive. It has to be one of each. So I like to put that negative first, typically. So it's going to be a negative what and a positive what to get a positive 5. Jocelyn? -1 and a positive 6. Very good. -1 and positive 6. That would multiply to give us -6, but it would add to give us positive 5. Yeah.
Okay, so like in the order, it does like not matter. Sorry, I was looking back. It doesn't matter at all. It's just like 4 plus x, and then like 2 plus x. Like if they're still the same numbers
Inside the parenthesis.
Yeah.
So
the same numbers inside the parentheses.
So inside the parenthesis, we'd rather have x plus 4 than 4 plus x.
Okay.
Because we want that x to come first because it's in standard form. Yeah, good question. What we don't care about, though, is which of these two parentheses comes first. Okay? Yep. Now, if we follow the same pattern, how should our of this last one happen? If that were to be a pattern, what should our ending answer end up being?
-1 plus 6.
X minus 1 and x plus 6, right? Okay, let's go through this problem and let's see if that's what we get. So x squared minus x plus 6x minus 6. So we have those first two staying the same. This means the first and last staying the same and the middle splitting up. So now we say, hey, what's the GCF of x squared and negative x?
X.
Just an x. Very good. And we're going to be left with x minus 1. Now, what's the GCF of 6x and negative 6? 6. So I'm going to put a plus 6 there. And what's going to be left over? X minus 1. Hey, are those x minus 1s the same?
Yeah.
Good, good. So that goes out in front. And what's our other parenthesis? X plus 6. Hey, do we notice that we've seen those numbers before again? Yeah, are we noticing maybe this is an actual pattern, okay? So there's a shortcut here only when A is 1. When A is 1, guess what, guys? You can cut out all this work in the middle. You can go straight from the X to your answer. It's awesome, okay? Now, when A is not equal to 1, you still have to go through all of this, okay? So on those problems on our homework that we turned in today, and we did last class, like before spring break, my goodness, forever ago now, okay? Those, you still have to do this full way. These, you still can do the full way, or we can just jump from the X down to our answer and be done. Okay? I'll show you what we do. So in this example, we look for a GCF. It doesn't exist. A is 1, which means we can use our shortcut. So we make the X, and what goes to the top of this X? Positive 6, and what goes to the bottom? Negative 5. So it's kind of like the reverse of the last one, isn't it? Okay. So what is going to be on the sides here? 2 negatives. Very good. It's going to multiply to a positive, so it has to be the same sign. They're going to add, though, and you can't have 2 positives adding to a negative. That just doesn't work, okay? You need 2 negatives. So what 2 numbers are going to give us negative 5? Negative 2 and negative 3. Now, truthfully, we don't care whether the 2 goes on the left or that 3 goes on the left, okay? Now, since A is 1, here's what we can do. Both of our parentheses are going to be the variable x. And then what follows is determined by the sign and number on the sides of the x. So x minus 2 and x minus 3. And that's your answer. You're done. That's a shortcut.
This is literally all examples this week.
Yeah, that shortcut, once again, only exists when our leading coefficient's 1. Okay? And I can prove to you that, hey, if we multiply these through real quick, you'd get the same thing as when we started. I'm going to do it, but do you have to write this down? No, you don't have to write it down, okay? X times x, x squared. X times negative 3, negative 3x. Negative 2 times x, negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 3, positive 6. Hey, would negative 3x and negative 2x combine to be negative 5x? Yeah. So this would have been like our in-between step where we like start grouping here. And so we got the right answer because it ended up multiplying back out to be the same thing as what we started. Did that save a ton of work and time? Yeah, and space on your paper, okay? Now, Mr. Collisle, this shortcut doesn't make sense to me. Can I do the old way? Yeah, you can do the old way just fine, okay? This method of splitting it into 4 terms, grouping, and then getting your answer will work for any of these trinomials we're going to do, okay? It'll work anytime the shortcut works, and then some. The shortcut will work anytime when A is equal to 1. When it's equal to 1, we're like, oh, heck yeah, short problem here. We got to use the shortcut. I want you guys to try number 2 on your own. Okay, so on number 2 here, we notice that, hey, A is 1, which is going to be convenient for us here. That means we can use our shortcut. So let's make our x. At the top of the x, we have negative 63 because A times C is negative 63. Bottom, we have negative 2. So we're going to need a negative and a positive that multiply to 63 but have a difference of 2, okay? And the negative is going to need to be bigger. We know it's going to be a difference of 2 because they're different signs. So when they add, they'll really subtract here. So as we go through our factors of 63 to try some, we can say, okay, well, 1 in 63, 2 doesn't go into it, 3 does, 91 times. 4, no. 5, no. 6, no. 7, how many times? 9. Hey, would that one work? Are those 2 apart? Yeah, so which one's negative here, though? The 9, the bigger one, because that's the sign that we have, is the negative. So 7 is the positive one. And now we can just go straight into the shortcut. X minus 9 and x plus 7. And if you were to have the plus 7 in the first parenthesis and the minus 9 in the second parenthesis, that'd be perfectly okay as well, okay? Any questions on that one? So once again, this cuts off a lot of work from what we had to do for today. Number 3. Wait, what's different about number 3? Do we have A as 1 right now? No, but what do we notice? There's a GCF. There's the greatest common factor. We can take it out. And what is that GCF here? 2. So if we factor out a 2, we're left with a squared minus 9a plus 20. Now, inside our parentheses, our new a. Is our new a 1? That means we can use a shortcut inside the parentheses. So when we make our x here, what's going to go at the top of this x? 20, okay? Remember, our a, b, and c are now determined by what is inside of the parentheses. We still need to have that 2 outside the parentheses. Otherwise, it doesn't stay equal to what we started with. At the bottom, we put that negative 9. So we have a positive on the top, so it's going to be 2 of the same sign. We look at the bottom to figure out what sign it is. So are they 2 positives or 2 negatives? 2 negatives. Now, what 2 factors of 20 will add up to 9? They're the same sign, so they will add. Okay, Eli? Yeah, 5 and 4. Once again, does it matter whether we put the 5 or the 4 first? No, it really doesn't. Okay. So now we can use the shortcut. We still have that 2 out in front. But our first parentheses, not x, but a now, because a is our variable, minus 5. And our second parentheses, a minus 4. If you have those parentheses flip-flop, that's okay. Okay, if you have the a minus 4 first, the a minus 5 second, that's fine. It's the same answer. Yeah, Elijah?
Why is the a not squared in 1?
Great question, because if we were to multiply it back through, would we end up getting a times a being a squared? Yeah. So that's why we need it that way. Whereas if one of them was a squared and one of them was a, we'd multiply through and get a to the third, which is more than what we started with. That make sense?
Yeah.
All right, any other questions on number 3 here? Slight curveball there, wasn't it? Okay, anyone still need this up here before I move on? Cool beans. Frijoles Cheetos. Okay.
So,
I want you guys to try out number 4.
that doesn't add up to 4. So, wait.
So we start making our x here because we notice there's no GCF. 2 goes at the top, 4 goes at the bottom. It would have to be 2 positives here because they multiply to a positive, so they're the same sign. My goodness, I need to rewrite a 2 there. There we go. That's a good one. And they have to be adding up to a positive on the bottom, hence the 2 positives. Now, the factors of 2 are what? 2 and 1, 1 and 2. So either way you slice it, it's going to be a 1 and a 2. Will 1 plus 2 get us 4 ever? No. So what's our answer? It's just prime. There's literally nothing you could do with it. Literally nothing we can do with it. Not even a GCF. So would 2 times 2 give us 4 at the top instead of 2 at the top, though? That wouldn't work. So remember, if it was the other way around, maybe, okay? But here, no, not quite. Okay, actually, if it was the other way around, that wouldn't work. But we need 4 at the top and the bottom for it to be 2 and 2. Questions on number 4. It's kind of a trick question. All right, number 5. What's different on number 5 here? We have another variable again, right?
There's different.
No, it's not. I don't think it's like sorry. Nothing.
It's not in the right order.
Okay.
Right, no,
It isn't, yeah.
There is 2 variables.
Yeah, there are there's 2 different variables right now. There's A's and there's B's, right? Okay. So on our other ones we've done today, we just had the one variable, either A's or X's or whatever it is, okay? Now, we've seen problems with 2 variables before, right? Do you remember what happened when we had problems with 2 variables in our parentheses? Did anyone remember what our parentheses kind of ended up looking like? Okay. you had both variables in both parentheses, okay? So just like how you have like an a to the first in both parentheses on these, you'd have a b to the first in both parentheses as well, but it'd be with something here, okay? So let's make our x here, because there's no GCF. And what's going at the top of this x? Negative 20. What's going at the bottom? Negative 8. So it's multiplying to a negative, so it's going to be a negative and a positive, and they have to be 8 away from each other, okay? Bless you, must rain down after, let's forget. What numbers are we thinking that are factors of 20 that are going to be 8 away from each other? Emily? 10 and 2, and the 10 will be negative, and that 2 will be positive, okay? Because the bigger number needs to be negative right now because we end up with a negative 2. Any questions on how we got that? All right, so now for our shortcut, we'd write a minus 10b. That's the only change here, okay? Because that second variable is a b, we need to put a 10b there, okay? I'll show you why in a moment here. Our second parenthesis, can anyone tell me what they think our second parenthesis will be? A plus 2b, but yeah, right idea. And that would be our answer. Now, the reason why it has to have a b there is because if we were to FOIL it back through, a times a is a squared, a times 2b is plus 2ab, negative 10b times a is negative 10ab if we put it alphabetically, and negative 10b times 2b is negative 20b squared. So would we combine those middle two and get the same exact thing as what we started with? Yeah, so because we have an ab in the middle and a b squared at the end, we have to have those b's in this one as well, okay? Questions on number 5. All right, I want you guys to try number 6 on your own, okay? I think you might want to look for a GCF first, hint, hint. Do we have a GCF on this one? Yeah, so first things first, let's take care of that GCF. Our GCF here is 2, like we said. So we're going to be left with x squared minus 10xy plus 24 y squared. So we're going to want to make an x here. At the top of the x will be 24 and the bottom will be a negative 10. So we're going to have 2 negatives because they multiply to a positive, so that's be the same sign, but they add to a negative, meaning they're both negative. So what 2 numbers that are multiplied to 24 are going to add up to negative 10, Brady? 4 and 6. And we can put those in 6 and 4, 4 and 6, either order, okay? But they are both negative. Very good. So now, we'll say, hey, we can have this 2 out in front. We can't forget that, okay? I saw quite a few people forgetting that too. And then we have x minus 4, but minus 4 what? Y. Now the reason we have that 4y again is because we have a second variable here, okay? So the only thing that changes when you have a second variable versus when you only have one variable is you have to tack that second variable onto the second part of each parentheses. The start of the parentheses stays the same, okay? That's still the variable we had at the beginning, which is the x. Now our other parentheses is going to be x minus 6y. From here, we'd say, hey, we're done. Any questions on that? So don't do numbers 1, 2, or 3. And then in the instructions for that 4 through 18 there, it says, for the bottom line, it says you can use either method presented in the examples. Just cross it out. We didn't have 2 methods. So you can just cross that bottom line out, the second line of that instruction there, where it says you can use either method presented in the examples. You can just cross that out. Otherwise, you just have 4 through 19 there, okay?